So we're up to the third of the 48 ways to acquire wisdom, and this way is called Arichas Vasayim. Arichas Vasayim means to arrange it on your lips, to say it out loud. We talked about this recently at our Yom Tov table. Contrast a university library, absolute silence. If you raise your voice above a whisper, somebody says shh, right? With a beis medrash, with a yeshiva, where you have 1,000 men standing there and it's a cacophony of sound and they're all arguing and they're all speaking out loud at the same time and you can barely hear yourself. And someone says, how could you even hear you? How could you learn with so much noise around you? And the answer is that saying something out loud is a very powerful tool in gaining clarity and gaining wisdom. So that's why one of the key ways to acquire wisdom is arichas vasayim, arranging it on our lips. So the first concept to understand here is to take something from potential to actual. It says that Vayipach ba'apav nishmas chayim, when God created man, he blew into his body a soul, a living soul. And Targum Onkelos, the first of the many, translators of the Torah, reads that to mean a speaking spirit, ruach memalala, right? The unique trait of a human being is his ability to articulate those things that are inside. It's the bridge that connects the spiritual thought, something that's only internal, to the physical reality. So articulating a thought and bringing it out into the world takes it from internal to external, from potential to actual. So by taking something and speaking it out loud, we clarify the idea. So we've all had experiences where we thought we had the answer to a question, we thought we had a certain understanding of a concept, and as soon as we started to speak it out, it began to unravel, right? Why is that? Because we realize we don't actually have clarity. So speaking something out forces you to assess and to learn whether you really clearly understand that idea and can articulate it. The second aspect here is to understand where you're holding. There's a beautiful Rambam who actually is talking about a person dieting, right? And that they should listen to the way they speak to themselves. So for instance, if I have to diet and I say, Ari, you really need to stop eating so much, that's one way of relating to myself. If I instead say, I have to stop eating so much, that's a different way. And the Rambam says that when I use the term I, it's a much deeper way than when I'm speaking to myself as if I'm talking to a third person, right? So discussing an idea out loud can really tell you whether you have conviction about that idea. So if you commit to something, commit to it by saying it out loud, and then you can tell by the tone of voice that you use, as soon as the words leave your mouth, you can understand whether you have a real commitment to the idea. If you don't have a real commitment, you can actually use the power of affirmation to cause yourself to internalize what you're committing to, right? So I am going to make sure not to have that extra piece of cake at the Shabbos meal, right? That's something that can internalize and affirm to me the way that I'm going to act. It could be about a beautiful day. Today's a great day. I'm going to seize the day. I'm going to go out there and make things happen today. Again, those affirmations have a power. The power is not in our minds. When you think the affirmations, they don't have nearly the same level of power as when you actually speak it out. Another aspect of this is to start your engines. It's a way to get your body engaged and increase your concentration. For instance, if you're reading and you find yourself kind of floating out there and you barely can tell if you read the last paragraph or not, try reading out loud. It may be embarrassing for a few minutes, but it will recenter you on the thing that you're focused on the thing that you're learning. When you come into a beis medrash, when you come into a yeshiva or a shul and you see people learning out loud and sing-song voices, it's a way to keep the concentration up, to ensure that you have clarity. Sometimes you'll even hear them speaking about what they're learning out loud as if they're having a back and forth argument. Again, the focus is that our spoken word forces us to attain clarity. The next aspect of this is to encapsulate wisdom. Articulate what you're thinking. Don't let it sit in the back of your head. find a way to bring it out. Talk to a friend, talk to a spouse, talk to a child, talk to, anyone you meet. Take a concept that you've learned that you think you understand, a political idea, a wisdom that you've learned, something about the world that you've seen. Talk it out as a way to assess whether or not you understand it clearly enough. The Chafetz Chaim used to say that one who can't teach something hasn't really learned it, right? The idea is if I can articulate it clearly enough, then I understand the concept. And then finally, and perhaps critically, is negative talk. We have the ability to talk ourselves down, both inside of our head and with our words. If a person finds themselves saying to themselves, I'm no good, I'm stupid, I'm wasteful, I'm a failure, I can't do it, I can't change, all these things, right? We have to find a way to flip the switch and start treating ourselves with the positivity, again, articulating it out, causing ourselves to change the way we see about ourselves, using the power of speech and of positive affirmation. And the more we do it, the more conviction we'll have in what we're saying positively about ourselves. So it's very important to arrest that negative speech, even if it's in our head, and use the positive speech and articulate that positive speech to change our attitudes about self. So a couple of applied concepts for this is make one commitment to change, a small commitment to change, right? And articulate the resolution out loud, and then use the way you're speaking about it to gauge how committed you are. And if you're not feeling committed to it, but feel that it's a worthwhile resolution, then repeat it as an affirmation until you feel that commitment coming in. Second, take one piece of wisdom, one thing that you've learned, and articulate it to someone that you can talk to, just to see if you really, really have acquired that piece of wisdom. It'll be a powerful reality check on whether or not you feel you truly understand the idea that you thought you understood so well.